Here.
We missed- Oh, good. Paul,
Present.
Mark,
Here.
Jack,
Yo.
Mary Ann,
Yes.
Deb,
Yes.
Josh,
Here.
thank you. Dan,
Yes, sir.
Amy,
Present here.
there you are. Stephanie,
I'm here, but having trouble. I hope you can hear me.
we
Yep.
can now,
Oh,
yes,
great.
Yep.
yes, much better, much better. Linda Holt will be joining us, but probably not till 7:30. Krista Silva, I did not see him on. Okay, with all that said, let's read the statement. This open meeting of the Senior Center Committee is being conducted remote only this evening. Speakers on the agenda may also be participating remotely, and the chair may allow the public to provide comments after the agenda is completed. If a member of the public wishes to speak, please raise your hand on your computer, and when called upon, please state your name for the meeting minutes. The Senior Center Committee would welcome public comments, and if there is, excuse me, any further action that is required by the committee, the clerk will add the matter as appropriate to the forthcoming agenda. Depending upon the comment, the committee may, if they are able within the confines of the open meeting law, respond with information as opposed to needing to deliberate on the matter. Please note that while an option for remote attendance and or participation is being provided as a courtesy to the public, the meeting will not be suspended or terminated if technological problems interrupt the virtual broadcast to individual attendees unless otherwise required by law. Accordingly, please be aware that other folks may be able to see you. So please take care not to screen share your computer. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. The end. Going to the agenda, first item on the agenda is approval of the meeting minutes from our last meeting, which was April 3rd. I did not receive anything back, and I don't know if Dan did. Does anybody have any corrections that are burning your gut that we need to make changes to?
Mhm.
Well, sounds like the meeting minutes are, okay, they look good to me. Via roll call, oh, I know, sorry. Got out of step. Could I have a motion, please, and then a second also to approve the minutes of the April 3rd meeting?
I make a motion to accept the minutes from the April 3rd meeting.
Second.
Who was the second?
Jack.
Okay, thanks, Jack. Jack. Mary,
Here.
thank you. Paul,
I was absent, so I must abstain.
okay, that's fine, that's fine. Mark, I saw Mark's mouth move, but he's still on mute, but I think he said yes. Jack.
I'm sorry, yes.
Mary Ann,
Yes.
Deb,
Yes.
I'm a yes. Josh,
I will abstain.
yeah, you were not here. Thank you. Dan,
Yes.
Amy,
Yes.
Stephanie,
Yes.
yeah, and Linda was not here. Okay, so now we can get to the agenda. So the agenda tonight is relatively concise and short. It's actually one item to discuss the Senior Center Committee draft presentation for the May town meeting.
Yeah.
We talked about this last week. Everybody on this committee is aware that we are going to present at the town meeting in support of the Council on Aging and the desire to get a lease, and they get the financing for the lease. That is going to happen with two articles. I'm not going to try to explain the two articles because I think Jack and a few others might be a lot more skilled at explaining that than I am. But what I wanted to go through tonight was several of us got together and Josh sort of got nominated as the person to be the spokesperson for the Senior Center Committee. Jack, as we had talked about last week or 2 weeks ago, had done a draft of 6 slides. We didn't have the slides up for the last meeting, but we kind of talked to the slides. Josh has taken those
You can
slides,
stay here.
made some edits, and that's what I think either Dan or Josh just put them up now. So I'm going to turn this over to Josh and let Josh kind of walk through these slides, and then we can ask questions along the way. Sound okay?
Yes.
Go ahead, Josh.
Thank you, Jerry.
You're
So
welcome.
people can jump right in anytime. It's not a long presentation. I'm on vacation in Maine, so the internet will occasionally fade out, but only for a second or two. So, so the first slide, and thank you to Jack. Jack put all of this together. I really just focused on a couple minor tweaks and then a different ending, and we'll get a sense from the group what folks think. But these first couple slides are pretty kind of textbook. Obviously, we have to populate the article number, and I'll read this out. To see if the town will authorize the select board to enter into a lease agreement for the property located at 141 Parker, Maynard, for the purpose of a senior center for a term not to exceed 20 years on such terms, and the select board deem most advantageous to the town to do or act thereon.
Yeah, Josh, there's a typo in there. The terms as, the and should be an as.
Thank you. It felt a little weird reading that.
Yeah, the other thing that, the first, it's a little confusing about how this works out. This slide should now be the second slide, or perhaps the last slide, because the order, according to the draft thing at the last select board meeting, is they're going to go for the money first, Article 8, and then Article 9 will be authorizing the lease.
Okay, that works. I think at the end makes sense then.
Yeah.
If that works for everybody else.
Yes.
We'll double back to that slide in a sec. All right, so thank you, Jack. So our new slide 1 would be the one that we're looking at here, and we do need to get the article number in there. All right, so this is going to be contingent budget for Council on Aging to see if the town will vote yes to raise and appropriate the following amounts from the tax levy for fiscal year 2026 for the operating and programming of the Council on Aging, contingent upon passage of a Proposition 2.5 ballot question under General Laws, Chapter 59, Section 21C. I won't read through all of this, but it's $200,000. So it's important that we all agree on that number because after today, it would be difficult to change. And then Jack, on the FinCom recommendation, when would that get populated? Do you know?
I do not know. I know they have a deadline, but I don't know what it is.
Okay.
I can answer, when they're gonna populate it, I don't know, but I can answer what they did. Linda will be on about 7:30 tonight, but she sent me a note today that when they met this week, FinCom approved the lease and the override 7-0.
Awesome.
100% approval on both articles.
Yippee.
Okay.
So we got their support.
And I think it's tradition that the head of the committee that's involved, or the individual, if it's a citizen petition, does get notified, like Jerry just said, but that it may not be widely advertised until the very last minute.
And that's okay, as long as we know and, you know, we can sort of address the issue with the
Mhm.
slides. Perfect. Go ahead, Josh.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, that's getting the kind of formal stuff out of the way. Now we're going to move into the meat and potatoes. So slide 2, serving our seniors. It's time for a new senior center. And just so folks understand kind of how I'm thinking about this, at least for presenting that night, I'm going to go through the presentation, and then at the end of this article, I'm going to give my kind of impassioned speech. And then we'll take up, I'm less worried about the authorization for lease, because if we get through, if folks support $200,000 and putting that on the ballot, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say they'll probably support allowing us to enter into a lease agreement. So I figure my impassioned speech will go at the end of this, and then we'll take up the next article. All right, so serving our seniors, is time for a new senior center. So number one, Maynard has been seeking a permanent senior center for more than 4 decades. Number two, Maynard has well over 3,000 citizens 60 or older. So question for the group, do we want to get really specific?
I think we should.
Okay,
Okay, the number is 3,332.
did you check to see if anybody had a birthday in the last couple of days, Jack?
No, I didn't. By the way, I went to town hall and got this, and nothing to do with the slide, but what town hall came back with is 3,332 against a population of 10,286. We are at 32.99%.
Wow.
Mhm.
Wow, wow, wow.
Yeah, that's good, Josh.
That's impressive.
Yep.
That is impressive.
Yep.
It also tells me we need to have more kids, but that's another story for another night.
That's up to you, Josh.
I'm doing my part. All right, the next one, number 3, current center at 1,200 square feet is too small, remote and accessible, and the building is deteriorating. Number 4, greater than 98% of the more than 750 attendees at the October 2023 town meeting voted to support funding a larger senior center. So the other thing I should say is that I don't plan on reading these to the audience. I'm going to use these as cues. I like to just let it flow. You know, I'm going to point at the audience and say it was not too long ago at one of the largest turnouts for town meeting that you all overwhelmingly supported, you know, addressing our senior center. And while, you know, tonight we're asking for you to follow through with that, and we would love your support to fund it. I think it rang true, loud and clear the last time we were together that Maynard supports our seniors.
I think that's good, Josh.
Yep.
Awesome. Number 5, select board formed and charged a senior center committee in December of 2023. So this, I'm going to, between this and the next one, I'm going to kind of wrap this all together to make sure that people understand, because I don't want, first of all, I don't want people thinking that I'm a lone wolf out there. I want to make sure they understand that there's a large amount of people who've been working on this for a long time, that we have the Council on Aging, we have the Senior Center Focus Group, I believe, we have the Senior Center Committee, and then we have all kinds of people who are just big advocates. I'm not missing any groups there, right?
No.
Okay, good. So, and I also think this might be the point at which I talk about, and there might be another slide where I talk too, but I want to make sure people understand that our role as a senior center committee is to help, you know, kind of get this thing going and off its feet. But then we're going to turn this over to the Council on Aging, because they are the authoritative body that programs and kind of manages this entity. So I want to make sure that folks know that that's going to be a transition coming. Yep, go ahead.
Go ahead, Dan.
Item number 2. I think I saw a previous presentation that said Maynard has well over 3,000 citizens or something like that. And now there's a specific number. 3,332. Was that as of a certain date?
Yeah, Jack just went door to door and counted.
Okay. So perhaps it should say Maynard has 3,332 citizens as of whatever date.
3 days ago.
It
No, you don't need to say that. I don't think so.
But
Well,
you
it's a-
can't, you can't say well over and have a specific number. I mean,
Oh. Yep, good
Yeah.
point.
it's
good
either
point.
well over 3,000 or it's something else, but you can't say.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yep, good
Mhm.
point.
Yep.
So how old, really, how old is that information?
The quote from Town Hall, as of the most recent census information, which was delivered to my inbox April 14th.
Census 2020?
No, it's the
The town
census.
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 Oh, okay.
25.
All right, so that's fine. I mean, we probably don't have to add any more words there. And just the building is deteriorating. I mean, I know it's just a nitpick, but while we're talking.
No, I don't mind that at all. Keep in mind, I'm gonna be showing this to hundreds of residents, so nitpick away.
Okay, what, Mary?
The current senior center.
The current senior center,
But we're not, that's what we're already talking about.
yeah, yeah, okay. Very good.
I have a question or a thought.
Go ahead.
Yep.
One or the other.
I'm wondering if when we say the current center at 1,200 square feet is too small, if we should put what the state recommended size would be. Some people might not think 1,200 square feet is too small, is my concern.
I would personally stay away from it because it takes you off down a track when you try to throw in, well, 4 to 5 square feet per senior, and we really should have 13,000. My personal opinion.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a bit of a trap because if I'm being honest, the 141 Parker is too small based on the
Yep.
state guidelines by a large amount. Now it's significantly larger than what you have now, and I think it's going to be a great solution for many to come. But this is one where when I'm reading this, I can ad lib a little bit. Like for instance, I know right off the top of my head that this works out to about 6 square inches per senior. That just intuitively sounds wrong too. I think almost anybody would understand that 6 square inches, and I'll hold my hands up and show people like that's not adequate.
Okay.
And I could even, if folks think it's good, I could even mention the 4 to 5 square feet per senior. Yeah, somebody could do the math and figure it out from there, but I think they would understand if I say that we're at 6 square inches right now and we should be at 4 to 5 square feet. People get it. But we'll see how the night goes too. I'll read the room a bit.
So the other thing too, though, Josh, is if you just stated that the new center is going to be X times larger than the existing center is one
That's
way
true.
of saying it. The only reason why I agree with you about not going with what the state sort of recommends, because we'd be at 15,000 something square feet. And there are some people in town already that are questioning, why are we going for this? Why aren't we just building the senior center?
Yep.
For another $1 million or so. Well, that $1 million is not the right number, and it's a number of years, but this is so much larger than what we have right now without getting into what the state recommends per senior. That's my thought.
Okay,
Jack, go ahead.
don't lose sight of the fact the slide is looking backwards. You
Yep.
don't want to start mixing the slide with, hey, the future is going to be.
True.
This is establishing credibility, need, history, so forth and so on.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Jack, somebody's calling. All right. I think I kind of covered these last two, so let's jump to the next one. Progress to date. So,
Oops.
I don't know what that is. Get rid of that. All right, progress to date. Senior center makeup. So this is where I can talk about our representation. I'll mention the different groups that we have a broad, kind of smattering of people from different parts of the community with different interests. that are representing different groups. So I think that that's going to be great. And I can even, this is where I can mention, I'm, here I am, I'm 44 years old. I'm not a senior yet, but this is important to me because it needs to be something that's important to the community. Let's see, the Senior Center Committee, I can go over the steps. We've had 20 meetings. We've had select board presentation. We issued an RFI, a request for information, trying to figure out what options we might have out there for lease. And it indicated that we have some options and some opportunities at manageable costs. Yep, Dan, go ahead.
I'm sorry, it's another minutia thing. I'm just reminded last October when Jack's presentation was being worked on, we discussed whether select board is one word like this or two words with a capital S and a capital B. And I think the previous slide had, can we go look at the previous slide for a minute?
It's two words, capitalized.
Okay, so yeah, it's two different ways in that slide, and Mary Ann gets credit for that. Just she saw it. But it triggered that thought that, what I know that legally it could be said as one word, but yeah, all right. Thanks.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right, Josh, one of the things that I flagged in some of my emails, you can address it from a podium, but all the acronyms are going to be mud for the audience. So the question becomes, do we spell them all out? And then have to explain, request for information, request for proposal, Senior Center Committee, COA, TM.
The rules traditionally that you spell them out the first time it appears, and then you don't need to do it for the rest of the presentation.
Yep. Just so you all don't have to watch me do that. I will update that accordingly.
Okay.
All right. The next one I wanted to double check on this language because Jack clarified that there were two options submitted by the market basket proposal. Yeah, exactly. So I want to make sure that this reads clear that this will read clear to the community. So select board authorized RFP with guidance from the Council on Aging. Responses confirmed 3 possible options. And by the way, I'm saying RFP in this meeting. When it's town meeting, I'm going to say it all the way out for all of these acronyms. Responses confirmed 3 possible options. So I think most people in the community right now are thinking there are 2 options, or that there were 2 options. I understand there's 3. Do I say 3 and do I explain it? Do we say 2 locations?
Suggestion, responses were received from 2 vendors or whatever the board is.
Yeah, there were 2 responders. That was it. One offered 2 locations, one offered 1 location.
Yeah, that's good. There were 2 responses.
Yeah, 2 responses. And that way there we don't get into, well, what's the third one?
Yep.
We don't want to get in that rabbit hole.
Jerry's house.
That's fine.
Separate request for proposal evaluation group selected the best option. Oops, sorry about that. Proposed funding would be part of the Council on Aging budget. And the lease agreement terms and costs reach contingent on funding approval by town meeting voters. And I'll explain, I'll explain a couple things here. I'm going to get a little further into the kind of what types of things the evaluation committee would be looking at, whether it be, what are the terms of the lease? What are the cost factors? What is the space that's offered? How does it, kind of conform to a senior center? So those will be, I'll ad lib some of that in there. And then same thing with when we get to the lease agreement, I'm just going to explain it's a bit of a chicken and egg situation. We have a solid proposal that we very much support, but the final details need to get worked out once the town meeting authorizes it, and ultimately the residents vote on it. And then town manager will take it from there, nail down the details, and we'll be off to the races.
Would
Okay,
it help to have a comma after reached?
no, excuse me, let me override you, because this is a conversation I had with the town administrator. Specifically, I was trying to find out with Greg, will you be done with the negotiations in order for us to make a statement at town meeting that said an agreement has been reached? And he said, no, don't get into that level of certainty. So this line needs to be changed. The lease agreement is, scratch reached, put in is. And that sets up the ongoing discussion that you were trying to get to, Josh. It said, folks, you know, we can negotiate all we want, but unless the voters.
Got it. Perfect. All right, next slide. So senior center lease, 141 Parker Street. And while I'm up there, I'll explain, you're looking back towards Market Basket and, Parker Street right here, Dunkin' Donuts off to the right. I'm not going to make a joke about people cutting through.
It's been really bad, I tell you.
So dedicated 5,590 square feet, which is about 5 times what the current senior center offers. On the ground floor of the existing building, it's going to be finished to the Council on Aging guided senior center needs. It includes user and Council on Aging van parking at ground level. It is ADA compliant as well. Has a large multi-purpose room, 2 classrooms, a kitchen, private offices for counseling, reception area, and storage.
Question, do we want to throw in that second bullet? The RFP required 35 parking places, setting aside the vans for a moment. Is that a thing important enough that we want to point out that there will be 35 parking places? Anybody got an opinion?
Don't think so, Jack, but that's my opinion.
Yeah, I would agree. I think the word sufficient or ample parking, ample level parking. It's, I think people will be happy
Adequate.
with that.
Adequate.
Yeah,
Adequate parking.
Yeah, adequate's a good word. Yep.
sufficient.
I think covering it even under adequate is appropriate, because one of the things that keeps getting mentioned at the current place is there's parking issues, in the summer, yada, yada, yada. So good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Good
You
point.
said parking twice.
No, it's van parking.
User and COA, the adequate really goes to the word user somehow, and you may need to monkey around with the words there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
You can sort that out later.
Yep. I'm going to just highlight this.
I
Come
just
back.
put adequate above after the van parking. User and COA van parking, adequate parking.
Yeah,
before-
adequate user and COA van parking, I think.
Yes.
Adequate parking for users and COA van.
Yeah, perfect.
All right. Includes adequate user and COA van parking, ground level, ADA compliant. Okay.
Yep, perfect.
All right.
Yeah, get rid of the semicolon,
Yep.
not unless something follows it.
Not unless somebody has something to add.
I don't think so.
No.
A detail again in that second bullet, ground level. The intent was level ground. Again, draw the contrast between having to climb
Yeah.
up hill to get into the.
Right.
Oh, see, it's interesting. The way I read that, Jack, was it is on the ground floor, which is a benefit as well. But
Yep. I think both are important.
How about ground floor level
level
parking
site,
area, something like that? I don't know.
Level site, good.
Level
Mhm.
site.
Right,
Yep.
that's good.
Yep,
Yep.
yep, perfect.
Okay. And this is where I really want some input because I want to make sure that I didn't hit too hard on this. So I will read this to you. And my intent is that this is the slide that would stay up while I'm giving my impassioned speech. I'll read through this to the group and then I'll jump right into my speech. But so senior center funding, what are you voting on tonight? A yes vote. A majority yes vote will allow these items to be placed on, actually, I'm going to have to change that, right, Jack? Because it's just
Mhm.
one article.
Yep,
Yeah, I'm gonna have to rewrite this then. Okay. I'll work on this, but so I'll read it as it stood. A majority yes vote will allow this item to be placed on the ballot so voters can decide if they are willing to authorize the town to sign a lease of up to 20 years at an annual cost of $200,000 and at an annual individual taxpayer cost of roughly $50 a year based on the average assessed home value in Maynard. These funds will provide an appropriate senior center for the, we'll get specific here. $3,332 seniors in Maynard. So that is the yes. And again, I'll clean that up so that it's referencing just the one article.
Okay.
A no vote. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Do we want to get picky again? The current 3,332 seniors, or just leave it as 333? Yeah, whatever. Because that's going to still go up for a while.
It works. It didn't change the formatting, so I'll take it.
Yep.
All right, a no vote. A majority no vote will prevent the voters of Maynard from being able to vote to express if they are willing to fund a new senior center. This would result in the current aging, failing, inaccessible, undersized, and inappropriate locker room to continue to be used as a senior center for the more than, well, for the
Yeah, that's fine.
Current.
Well, it'll wrap to another line. You may not have to say current twice.
I have a thing to say about the locker room. I think Krista Silva would not appreciate us saying that word.
he's actually who I got it from.
Oh, because I've said that to him and he's saying, don't ever call it a locker room anymore.
Yeah, it's funny. He said it at the meeting in the library the other night, referenced it
Oh,
as
okay.
the locker room.
Okay.
So I thought, honestly, Deb, that's the one piece of this where I felt it was a little strong, but
Mhm.
I don't know. What do
Hey,
folks
that's
think?
where I did keep my golf clubs for many years.
Josh is right. I was at that meeting. Chris is the one who actually described it in public
Wow.
at a meeting
Wow.
held. There were about 130 people total online and in person. And Chris called it the locker room.
Well, I'm shocked.
Whether we use it or not, is our decision to make.
It's fine with me. He always bristled when I would say that. So now that maybe he's accepted it.
So as a backup plan, the word would be facility if you had to change locker room. Is that what you would say?
No, the point was the senior center is in what used to be the locker room.
That's right.
So it's not.
I think we should just leave it.
Yep.
Okay,
Agreed.
Okay, Josh, I have two comments here.
great.
I sent you a note. In the no vote thing, the first paragraph, I think you could take out because it is technically incorrect.
Okay,
And let me back up and cover some other things. If people haven't looked at the select board stuff, the vote date for the ballot vote has already been set. It'll be May 27th. So it's like 8 days after the thing, so that the article is going to appear on that ballot anyway. And under override kind of procedures, even if town meeting turned it down. So one, the vote will be held anyway. Even if town meeting turned it down, if the popular vote said, yes, you can do it, the town can call another town meeting and go back and revisit the town meeting vote. So it's technically not exactly correct. So that even if you vote no, it is going to be on an existing ballot. Now, the second comment I have here, the last line in both sides is the same. Do we need to be repetitive, or is that a point we want to hammer home?
Can we table that for 1 sec? So,
Sure.
thank you very much. You're as always right, Jack, on the process from a vote standpoint. So how do I explain what the no vote is? Because I don't want to stand up there and say, folks, believe it or not, you have no authority in this. So it doesn't really matter how you vote. I don't think that would go over very well.
Yeah.
We might have to do a little work, but if you vote no, what you're really saying is, I don't know, I wouldn't want to get into it from the stage, what I just went through that says, hey, there's going to be a ballot anyway, and there'll be another chance to revisit it. So that
Maybe just a less defined sentence. A no vote would, I'm sorry, I've got other noise in the room. A no vote would cause the risk that we might end up staying in the current status quo. Sorry, I got a lot of distraction going on. But without saying anything that's legally binding or referring to a particular voting event, yeah, just some sort of general wording.
let me pick up Dan's comment. A no vote would force us to stay in the current aging, failing, yada, yada, yada.
Yep. Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Or
That's all.
would force continued use of.
Yep, we don't need to state a lot at that point. That makes the statement right there.
Yeah.
So is it?
So we've already talked about the size. It was too small with the old locker room. You vote no, that's where they stay. That's it.
So Josh, it would be a no vote would force continued usage of the current aging, failing, yada, yada, yada.
Well, let me just play devil's advocate.
Okay.
Somebody might say, I'm not forcing you to continue to use it. I'm just not going to pay more so that you can go elsewhere. The town should find another facility to move you to. Let me read this and let me know if it works for you. A no vote would indicate that you would prefer to maintain the current aging, failing, inaccessible, undersized, and inappropriate locker room to continue to be used as a senior center for the current 3,332 seniors in Maynard.
No, I think that's
then
good.
I would say it's too long, but I wanted to add something like, as we've already evaluated all other town-owned properties and there are no other spaces for an appropriate senior center. But that's way too long a sentence.
Yeah, and I don't know that we want to go there because I know there's still a number of people in town who are still complaining, well, why are we tearing the entire old Green Meadow School down? Why aren't we keeping a portion of that and having that be the senior center?
It's asbestos. That's all you have to say, asbestos.
Correct. But I guess what I'm trying to say is I'd like to see us try to avoid making a statement that brings that into play. To your point, Josh, we looked and we didn't find any other town facilities appropriate. Or somebody might say, well, but we can keep part of the building, take all the asbestos out of it, put a new roof on it, new entry. Things could be done for some number of millions. I'd rather we didn't get into that discussion because it won't go well.
There,
Just
there's
my
been,
thoughts.
if I can interject,
Yep,
the question has come up. I received a question through Jerry and I received a question through the SCC's mailbox, the public email box. And the person who was writing the questions was basically in favor of, why don't we just go build a new one and get everything we need now? And I think that question probably is better being handled verbally from the floor and from you standing up on the stage than trying to articulate it in a slide, because there are too many rabbit holes that can be gone down. If you put something on a slide, then someone's going to ask another question. But just be ready for that question. I think, Josh, we had email on this already where I forwarded you that. So it's probably better to have this just
Mhm.
kind of shiny and tight like you've got it now, instead of trying to answer every conceivable question.
You're right, Dan.
Yep.
Address it verbally, not in writing on here.
Let me add a little bit to that. Again, not for the context of, Josh trying to fiddle with the words here. At the Tuesday meeting, there was an individual, after hearing about the $200,000, did the mental gymnastics and said, hey, 5-year lease, that's $1 million. Why don't we just buy a building? So
It's the same, that's the same person that spoke at the town hall and also in the email, just to close loop on that.
Okay.
Yeah, and I actually I went the distance with him on social media too. I believe I have resolved all of his questions. I think I got him on board. But I welcome him asking all those questions again at town meeting. I can do
Yeah,
that.
I think, Josh, I think you did handle that very well with him
Thank
on
you.
the line.
Yeah,
No,
Yep.
and they were good questions. It
Oh,
was
yeah.
a cordial conversation, and those were very intelligent questions that people should be asking.
Yes.
Back to what you're working on here, Josh, on the yes vote thing. I really react, a yes vote would suggest. I mean, a yes vote is not a suggest thing. A yes vote says you support.
Indicates your support.
yeah. Take out would.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yep.
Now, another thing that comes in here is, do we want to make any indication relative to the ballot, which is going to follow on May 27th? In the sense of, okay, the yes vote indicates your support for an increase in property taxes and validates this gets confusing, so maybe not. What I was headed for was validates the ballot vote, which will take place on May 27th or something like that. I mean, I'm trying to introduce, because some people still won't understand that this is a two-step process. There's a town meeting vote tonight, and it has to be approved in a town-wide vote, on May 27th.
I don't think this is the slide you should use it for, though, Jack,
Okay,
Yep.
Yeah,
because this is what they're voting on tonight, it says at the top.
yeah.
And maybe at the end of the whole presentation.
Yeah.
yeah, that's fair.
Yep.
Yeah, that would be a good one, almost like a reminder slide
Mhm.
Mhm.
or
Yep.
next step slide.
Okay,
Yeah, next steps is perfect.
well, okay, let me, the sequence as it's currently set up, and I assume it'll stay there. Article 8 is vote for an override for a senior center. Article 9 is authorize the lease for the senior center. Article 10 is the override vote for the schools. So somewhere in that process, there's, I suspect, going to be reminders of, hey, folks, there's a ballot vote coming.
Did you say, Jack, did you say 9 is for the money and 8 is for the lease, or the other way around?
No, other way around.
Okay,
The other way around.
Yeah.
thanks. I'm not writing the school one for him.
Oh, come on, Josh.
I'm not touching that one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
don't blame me.
and the other thing that we should probably do is the opening slide and the closing slide, which have the article things on them. We probably should, close to the meeting or whatever, make sure we get the accurate article language,
Mhm.
because
Oh,
it may get
yeah.
changed or whatever.
Yeah, at this point, I was going to mention that as well, because the language that was approved on Tuesday is slightly different than what we have. So the draft warrant is actually on board docs from Tuesday. And of course that could, I think Lisa's been through it, but I'm pretty sure it's pretty final at that stage, so, but I can certainly get more information on that, but,
Yeah.
the Article 9 verbiage is on there, and it's slightly different than this.
Okay.
Okay, perfect.
On the next steps one that indicates the special election, do folks think I should have it, that I should put it on this slide at the bottom or on a separate slide at the end?
Separate slide.
Yeah,
Yeah, I would put a separate slide in.
So the
Yeah.
only thing is, and this is probably a good question for Jack, who's
Okay, Josh just froze.
oh,
Yeah.
sorry. Can you hear me now?
There he is.
yep.
He's up in
Um,
Maine, that's why.
Yeah.
Okay,
Um,
let me make a comment.
okay.
The way it's set up, and Steph, if it's been changed, let me know. The two articles are grouped in the sense that they're discussed together, vote separately. So both discussions will go on, and then the votes will be taken separately. So that could shape where we put a slide, et cetera, et cetera. Given that is part of the discussion, it would probably work to put at the end of the slide Josh has up now, what we were just talking about, next steps.
So put it on this slide rather than having a separate slide that highlights next steps. You
Well,
think?
that's my thought process.
Yeah.
And one of the other things that shapes that, there are, again, Steph, correct, there are 45 articles. There is concern that we're going to go to a 2-night town meeting. Now, we're good at being, 8 and 9 with the schools at 10, so we're early, but as a service to people who are going to be bearing a lot of butts in chairs for a long time.
And I have not heard, the moderator usually has a say-so in how he's gonna take that, and I haven't heard how he's planning on doing that yet, so that's still kind of up in the air.
Yeah, and the usual, in terms of number of slides or the 2-night thing?
Well, the in terms of what he takes to try to vote together, and obviously he always offers us, if you want to take them apart, we can, but by vote. But I think that the 2-night thing may or may not happen. That's
Right.
and we're ready for that. But as far as the timing of these presentations, I'm hearing that he is putting a cap on the length of time that people are doing
Mhm.
presentations to try to quell that as well. I don't know what that timeline is at the moment, but I think he's also trying to do that. So that's another consideration as to like how many slides and things like that.
Yeah.
Right.
I
I can
think
find
it,
out.
for citizen petition, I've seen it from him in email to somebody who's making a citizen petition as 2 minutes. And I saw somewhere else that for one of the earlier ones that the town is sponsoring, it was going to be 3 minutes. So it's going to be pretty quick.
Yeah, and I hear you, Dan, and I know Dick tries to be very structured with the thing, but when you get into an override vote, I would be really surprised if it's
Yeah.
going to put that, he'll put a limit on it, but I don't think it's going to be that much.
I mean, just the opening remarks, the slideshow, but then there's going to be questions from the floor and that's going to have to go longer.
Yeah, even with that, like for instance, I would be blown away if Dick tells Maynard Public Schools they have 3 minutes. Go.
Right.
Yeah.
What, you know, it could happen.
Yeah, given they had 27 slides at the
Uh,
recent public meeting.
But I will keep it quick. I actually go very quick.
So actually, I think a time limit plays to our advantage.
Yep.
One, Josh, you can walk through this pretty quickly.
Yep.
We're discussing it tonight. That night, you're just gonna have it up there, you're gonna talk to it, and you're gonna move to the next slide, you're gonna keep talking, you're gonna move to the next slide, and just keep on talking. You're just gonna keep on rolling.
Yep.
Now,
Yep.
we could end up with 3 people in the audience that want to ask questions. We could have 33 people. That's when the moderator is going to hop in, I think, after a certain number of people and say, that's the next 2, that's it. I think. So I think, condensing things down, I think is going to play to our advantage. Otherwise, if it was a short town meeting, there were only, 12 articles, you could have 30 people up asking questions, and that would not be to our benefit long term.
Okay, so the action item here for the first and last slides is to get accurate
Yep.
warrant article language.
Yep.
I froze for a brief second there. So we want it on this slide, the special election date?
I think
Or do
that's
you
what
want it on a
Jack
new
was
slide?
recommending. Isn't that what you were recommending, Jack, to put that up on the?
Well, the whole thing I was pushing out, and I was using the length of the town meeting as a envelope for us to keep pressure on making it short. Yes, personally, I would put at the bottom of the slide in a separate box, please vote tonight, and please support us with a yes vote tonight. And at the townwide election on September 27th. But I'm one person's opinion here.
No, I agree.
Not September, is it?
I'm sorry, it's May.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Did I say something September?
Yeah, I
you
think
did.
so.
Yeah.
Just
That's
want to
okay,
see
Jack.
people, I'm glad someone is paying attention.
I was paying attention, always.
I was surprised because I thought it was going to be, way out at the end of June. It was on the select board docket this past Tuesday. It's May 27th, like 8 days after the.
Well, I know the school committee was pushing to have it done early so that parents don't go on vacation and forget to vote.
Tuesday, May 27th.
Thank you.
Mm.
Perfect.
Can you put in a hard space between May and 27th so that they aren't pulled apart from each other?
Yeah, that works.
Yep.
Yeah, I would propose we leave this as a separate slide for now, and if Dick wants to push it together, he can.
Yeah, it could work either way.
Yep.
It's not going to change the speed at which I fly through this either.
Right.
Nice job, Josh
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, Jack did
And
the
Jack.
bulk of this.
and Jack.
Yeah,
Yep.
looks good. Guys
It
did a
does.
good job.
Yeah, and I'll probably make a very, very brief, half kidding, half not kidding, joke at the beginning, which is just, I know we've got a massive agenda this evening, and I'm going to do my best to keep ours as short and sweet as possible, and I'll roll right into it.
Okay.
Yeah, the school committee is gonna try that too, but that's not gonna work.
No, it's not.
Not for them. For you, it will, for them, it's not gonna, not this time.
Well, folks
Good.
should be aware the school committee has rather sharply reduced the amount of override they're gonna look for.
Yes.
It's down to like 612,000.
They saw the light.
It's a
Well,
miracle.
no, at the select board meeting the other day, the school committee finally admitted we heard the feedback at the public meeting.
Good.
Yep. I sent a strong email to the superintendent, strong but respectful email to the superintendent, saying, which would you prefer? A failed override for 1.4 or whatever it was, or a successful override at a much more palatable value. So,
Mhm.
and even with that, I don't know if it'll be successful. This is a tough time.
Well, just so folks are aware of the insurance or whatever it was, healthcare thing came in about 263,000 under.
Yeah.
So the
Oh,
select
under.
board basically tilted that, give that to the schools. The school department had been proposing coming in at a larger number spread over 2 years. In a two-step kind of thing, which is going to be really complicated to explain. So I think Natasha and the school folks did a common sense thing. They admitted that they were getting the feedback. They heard the feedback. They dropped it to a single number, 1 year. And in the end, if the 263 gets added to the 612, they get 875,000, which will still cause them to cut some people, so forth and so on, but it's a much more palatable number. And there was actually correspondence in the select board package where an individual basically said, if it's over $1 million, I ain't gonna vote for it.
Mhm.
So anyway.
Hmm.
So that for a total that the voters will be asked for between seniors and schools now is 812,000.
Mhm.
Just one thing that I am going to say in the meeting that as I was looking through the presentation and I got to thinking about it. One line that I'm going to use with folks is that I stand here before you as a 44-year-old man, and the fight for a senior center started before I was born.
Yeah.
And quite frankly,
Yeah.
I'm embarrassed to share that with you. That needs to change. I'm also going to talk about, and I did a little bit of this on social media. You know, this community, our older adults, our seniors have supported everything from our high school to Fowler to Green Meadow to the fire station to town hall to police headquarters, and all the while waiting for their senior center. It's time. We're never going to finish investing in everything that Maynard needs. So if we're waiting for the end, then the senior center will never come. The seniors have waited long enough, and it's time.
Thank you, Josh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's why I used on that slide, it's time for a new senior center.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And actually, Josh, I think it's really important. Basically, I'm saying thank you, because I think it's really important for the senior community to see you as a not yet senior up there advocating. I think it's
For us.
a wonderful message in itself.
Absolutely.
Yep.
He
And
fights
Josh-
for all people.
That's correct. And Josh is the biggest benefactor of the new senior center too.
I am. I'm playing the long
Yeah.
game here. That's all this
Yeah,
is.
you are. Yeah, we can see it. We can see it.
But Josh, you could start off with, I am enlightened. I know I'm going to be using this.
Yeah.
Should I make a motion to proclaim Josh an honorary senior as of now?
Oh, we could. I'd second
Yeah.
that motion. I would. Any other questions, issues, that anybody has in the committee?
Nope.
I think
Yeah,
this was good. I
When
think
when
this
is
is a
our
good,
next meeting?
well, that's the next thing I was gonna ask. So,
Oh,
next
okay.
meeting technically is May 1st. Now, are we having that meeting? Are we not having that meeting? And if we have that meeting, what are we talking about? I'm just, I'm not saying don't have it, but I just want to make sure that we have a purpose for having the meeting.
I don't see any burning issues.
I don't right now either. I mean, if something comes up in the next week, we can send a note out. I'll send it out to everybody and say, hey, we're gonna be on for May 1st. That's
I
fine.
agree. I agree with you.
Amy, you got anything you think should be?
No, I think everything is, everything is tidied up at this point. The Council on Aging Board, I think our next meeting is the second Tuesday. When's the next select board meeting?
The
6th.
Which one?
29th. 29th?
April?
No, the select board isn't meeting again until the 6th of,
Yeah,
6th of
so
May.
that's-
6th of May, okay.
Yep.
Okay, and
Oh.
then that must be
All
the
right.
first, is that the first Tuesday?
yep,
And then,
Steph,
so that,
Steph, that's election day.
it'll probably be the 7th, the next day.
Yeah,
But that's their first meeting of the month, May.
yeah, they only meet twice a month, so
Yep.
it will be May.
So
Yeah, it'll be
back,
the 7th, Jack. You're right.
so back to the question of SEC meeting, do we want to pencil in the 15th with the stipulation that it might be earlier or later, depending upon the events that arise between now and then?
Yeah, I don't know what events would even
I don't
arrive.
think we need to. I don't,
Well, one thing
personally, I
I'll-
don't think
I'll-
we need to.
Or just
Yeah.
say it'll be determined at a later time by Jerry?
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. If something comes up that we're gonna have to do, we'll have a meeting. That's
Right.
fine.
Yeah.
I just don't like scheduling them and having them for the purpose of saying we had a meeting.
Right.
Right.
Everybody's busy enough. We don't need to spend any extra time. I just wanted to take a minute. I noticed that Linda Holt has joined the meeting. And Linda, where are you? I don't
Right
have your
here.
photo. Oh, there you
There
are.
she is.
Thank you for joining. And
I just
Linda,
want to say, yeah, that
ahead.
Finance Committee will have a hearing on May 12th, 1 week before town meeting, on all the warrant articles. So if anyone wanted to weigh in, I mean, I sent to Jerry that we recommended 7-0 on the 2 articles, the lease and the override. So, but anyway, we'll have our public hearing on our recommendations May 12th. If anyone wants to sit in on that.
Thank you.
Jerry, one other thing, I don't think
Yes.
it's necessarily for this, well, I guess it's partially for this group. Are there people working on the get out the vote kind of campaigns? Spread the word, make sure you show up to town meeting, make sure you show up for the vote at special election.
I am not aware, well.
no,
Tom,
Marianne Massa can take
Yeah,
that.
the Friends have, the Friends are funding, yard signs, and we actually started a list today of people who are willing to have us put a sign in their yard. So we were holding off ordering them until everything got approved. The warrant articles got approved, so we're moving ahead with that.
Nice.
And putting together a list of people who are willing to, help out with the whole process.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, actually, well, quick question, Jack. So I understand that if at town meeting, the funding does not get authorized, it still goes to special election. Is that true for the lease as well?
I don't think the lease thing it's a good question. I don't think the lease thing would be subject to a ballot. I mean, you're the one.
Yeah, yep, you're right. You're
I
right.
think that's right. I
money.
think that's right. Yeah, because that's why we had to vote 2 articles on Monday
Yep.
for the lease. But then the funding for the lease, the override for the funding for the lease. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, Josh, you're the one who commented wherever it was recently that a municipality wanting to lease beyond 3 years does require an authorization vote. That's a simple authorization vote at town meeting and not subject to a ballot kind of thing, as far as I know. The thing that I found curious in the draft warrant thing that I was looking at, the funding is majority, the lease is 2/3.
Yeah, I
Which-
saw that too.
I don't understand that, but okay,
Mhm.
that's the way it is. But to your fundamental point, no, lease does not require a ballot.
All right, that's actually a really good point then. So just to cut to the chase, what I was thinking about is that this is a town meeting that has a good chance of having a large parent turnout. And if we need a 2/3 majority vote to enter into a lease, to enter into the lease, we really need to make sure that the seniors come out to that meeting. And what's going to be interesting and fascinating to watch as a political junkie is these articles are going to come up before the school article. So how do people vote, not knowing how the school vote is going to come out? It's actually very interesting.
Yeah.
Well, the other piece of that, and I flagged it in an email, because both of our votes are secret, they will still be counting the ballots for the funding while we vote on the lease. So anyway,
And they'll
All right,
still be
folks.
counting the lease votes while the school is up there on the stage.
yep.
Yeah. Well, I've enjoyed our little get together this evening. Josh, you did a great job. You're going to do a good job at town meeting. I think this interaction tonight was excellent. A lot more discussion than I was thinking in my head before I dialed in tonight. I didn't think there'd be that much discussion, but there was, and it was excellent. And thank you everybody for being so vigorous about participating. If there are no other issues right now that are burning in somebody's heart, I would accept a motion to adjourn. That sound about right? I don't think anybody else had any questions. I asked before.
Well, we were basically going to let you decide when the next meeting was, I think, we
Yeah.
don't need a motion for that, but
And I think we decided we weren't going to have another meeting until and unless there's a reason to.
yeah,
Is
okay.
that correct?
Yep.
Okay.
I think that was the consensus.
Yes,
Yep.
I
All right.
move we adjourn.
I second.
Second.
Boy, that's a lot of seconds on that one. Oh, I can tell everybody's getting tired. Mary,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes, please.
Mark, you a yes, Mark? Yeah.
Yes.
Jack,
Yes.
Mary Ann,
Yes.
Deb,
Yes,
I'm a yes. Josh,
Yes.
Dan. Where did
I
Dan
think
go?
he said yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right, there you go. Amy,
Yes.
Steph,
Sure, sure.
sure. And a non-voting vote, a non-voting person, Linda. You want to return?
I'm for that.
All right.
Join
good.
lately.
Thank you for coming anyway, Linda.
Yeah.
11
thank you
minutes
very
after
much.
8.
Yes.
Thank you very much. That's it. I think we're done. Good meeting tonight. And if something changes, we'll send a note out to everybody. Otherwise, we don't have another meeting until,
The party.
Could we
Yeah, the
vote for
party,
the
that's-
senior center?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's right.
Yep.
So
Victory party.
technically,
Victory party.
yeah, the
Yeah.
victory
Mhm.
party. So technically, I'll certainly see you all at town meeting anyway.
Yes,
Well,
I
sir.
will be, I
At some
will be
point, we
home.
should finish the written report.
yes,
Yes.
Mhm.
yes, we'll do that after the fact.
Yep.
Okay, thanks, folks.
All right.
Good night,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Everybody.
Good night.
Night all.
Bye.